Good morning. Welcome to Local Talk here on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app. My name is Trace Nada. Well, you can give us a call at 919-618-9258. This is our continued coverage of the local elections coming up here in November. This morning we had Debbie Ramsey. She is candidate for Oxford Mayor. How are you today? Good
Hey
morning.
Trey, I'm doing good. How are you?
I am fantastic. I appreciate you for coming into the radio station here today.
Thank you
Re-
for having me. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Let's do a quick little. We like to start with these interviews by doing a quick little 30-second infomercial on who you are and what you're doing.
Okay, I'm running for mayor, Debbie Ramsey, and I've been doing a lot of research on the responsibilities and interactions with other people. It's a learning
Mhm.
process, and so I've been doing a lot of studying.
So a lot of research. And last time you were back here on the 12th. The 12th? Anyway, long time ago. This month. And you were going to a meeting, a nice big meeting to kind of learn a little bit more and do some more research, like you mentioned. Let's kind of dive deep into that meeting and try to talk to our listeners about what that meeting really entails.
Well, the big thing that I learned from that meeting is that you need to develop relationships with people who are at higher
Mhm.
levels than you politically, and you need to turn to them when there are questions that you're not familiar with or any solutions to problems that you have because they have so many more resources than I would have without having those
Mhm.
relationships. And I did go into the state legislative building and meet with our legislators. Very good interactions there. Actually, was introduced from the gallery to the floor of 120 representatives
Wow.
and myself and my team, and it was a really good experience.
I mean, that's got to be one nerve wracking. And so, I mean, talk a little bit more about that when you were able being announced to them. What was all the kind of the conversation, if you're allowed to?
Um, well, actually, we pretty much just watched um, the they were overriding some of the vetoes
Mhm.
by the governor, and it was something that I had never seen before to see government in action. And I think a lot of people probably don't are not aware of how that process occurs. And if you get a chance to go, it's really a good
Mhm.
opportunity.
Yeah, Denver candidate for Oxford Mayor joins us here for our decision at 2023, part of our local talk program here on Next Door Radio. Talk a little bit more about the meeting itself. You talked a little bit about the going up to the higher marks, but what are some of the conversations you had and some of the things that you learned along the way?
Well, one reason that I wanted to go there was to try to learn something more about the road situation
Mhm.
here in Oxford, and they gave me Senator Bodie and legislator Sossman gave me information about who I needed to talk with. To get more information, they gave me the name of the NCDOT supervisor for this area. I spoke with him, and then I went and spoke with the city manager and the city engineer, and I got a lot of good information.
Because the one thing, if you're allowed to say, I know some of the big concerns here locally in Oxford is the fact that businesses are losing, customers. They can't get in. The roads are closed, and so can you mention some of those concerns?
Yeah, I got good information from Amy, our engineer, and the project was huge, and I hadn't thought about the enormity of it and the complexity of it. I learned that there are a lot of payer sources. There are a lot of no interest loans that we get. So if you think that you've got a loan for a project or grants or whatever, you think all that money is coming into you at once, and it isn't.
That's not the case.
No, you have to jump through hoops to get the funding. So that delays a project a lot. And I also learned that there were problems with one of the contractors, and that stalled the project
Mhm.
for months. Another thing that I learned was that there were more than one contractor that were working on this project. When we would go down College Street, and it looked like they were digging up, they were patching, and they dug up again, and they patched, and we thought that's incompetence. What's going on? But actually, They did not get contracts for water and sewer. The state doesn't allow that to be paid at the same time.
Wow.
So they had to have different contractors come in and do water and sewer. So there were a total of 3 contractors working on different projects at the same time. So no, it was not incompetence. And they have actually, they're allowed by the state to work on those roads. It's an encroachment process. It's not their road. And so they have to jump through hoops again with the state. And there's so much more involved. And then the end result is that we have clean water to drink. And when we flush our toilet, it's not backing up into our bathrooms. So, and in addition to that, some of the pipes here were put in 1905. So
That's a long time.
it is.
I was
So
not
it-
alive back then. So that's a long
Yeah.
time ago. That's right.
And you probably won't be alive when they have to do this again.
That's true. Well, we hope not.
50 years.
Yeah, we hope not. I mean, so again, Deborah Renza joins us here, candidate for Oxford mayor on our local talk program, part of our decision in 2023. And I'm glad you're here to kind of talk a little bit more about this, because a lot of times it's just the ongoer saying, hey, this is terrible. This is bad for our, our local community. This is bad for our business. But the long term is it's going to be really good. And I'm glad that you were able to kind of get some information more about that.
One thing too that I want to mention is there's a lot of controversy about the road closures and businesses that are not able to, get the money that they should be getting. But last winter, I think around Christmas, some of the businesses on Main Street had that same issue. And so again, DOT determines road closures and pathways around it. So that's not a city issue.
Yeah, of course, it started on Main Street. Now it's on, here locally in downtown. And so what are some of the other conversations and things that you kind of witnessed and learned from this meeting?
Well, I did learn that the roundabout down the street on Williamsburg starts in October. Hopefully that project is not going to take as long as the first roundabout, but the state engineer was really positive about that. It was actually implemented by them because of an injury that occurred at the courthouse last year, and that was what they came up with to slow traffic down coming into that area. A lot of times we've had those little signs that you put up in the road that warns you about pedestrians, and they got mowed down. So
Yeah, that's something you just don't really look at when it comes to that kind of stuff,
don't.
and it's a dangerous situation. Just this morning, I came, and then 2 kids were walking. Of course, you have the sidewalk, the pedestrian area, and they weren't even using that. They multiple going through traffic, so it's a dangerous situation when, especially if not only the pedestrian doesn't pay attention, but also the driver. I mean, that's not a win-win situation. So.
Well, one thing that I can mention too is that the construction for the median out on College Street, you have people come in and they have these master plans and how to beautify the city. And a lot of times those plans don't actually look at how it's going to impact the traffic, houses on the road. I wondered possibly if some of those things could be relooked at, because the congestion on the Main Street area has not really been beneficial to people. So possibly that's something that they can look at.
Deborah Renza joins us here, candidate for Oxford mayor, a part of our local talk and decision 2023. What is one of the reasons why you wanted to go to something like this? As of course, you're running for mayor of Oxford, but what is kind of the reasoning you wanted to kind of get the background a little bit more before potentially getting into office?
Well, people were asking me what's going on with the road, even though I'm not mayor, and I wanted to get an idea and actually hear it from the horse's mouth. And so the only way I could do that was actually talk to the horse. So that's what
Good
I
point.
did.
Yeah. And so with all this, and for those that are tuning in for the very first time here today, part of our local talk program and Next Door Radio, and part of all of our conversation we have with candidates for the upcoming election of 2023, the role of mayor. Talk a little bit more about. I've asked every candidate that. because I love to kind of see the reaction and whatnot. But the role of mayor, you said you've gone to these meetings, you got to like to get wanted to get the background and the basics down pat. But what is the role? What can you have, potentially do for that kind of stuff?
Well, I think the role of the mayor in this situation is going to be observation. And if you've got critical thinking skills, you can kind of see the big picture. I followed for 10 years what's going on with this city. There seems to be in process two groups that have formed for this election, and both groups have self-interest. So my priority is going to be looking and determining what those priorities are and how they're going to affect the taxpayer. And, you have to work as a group. You can't really upset the apple cart. But I think that this is one of the most important elections that we have had in years. It's really important that people look at the candidates, look at what they're asking for and what they want to happen, and decide if you want your tax money to go to special interest. And, there are a lot of things that need to be done in this city. And so we need to look at how that money is going to be best spent for citizens.
Fantastic. We like to finish these conversations really just to open the floor about 2 minutes to anything that's on your mind that you wanted to speak about today. The floor is yours, Ms. Debbie.
Well, I really just said it. This election is really important, and you need to go and research your candidates, look at the incumbents, decide whose ideas are the best, and just get out and vote. That's the most important thing.
Fantastic. Well, Ms. Debbie, thank you so much for joining us here once again. Thank you for what you do. God bless you. And we'll see you back here next month. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Trey.
Thank you. Again, my name is Trace Nine on behalf of our local talk program. And this is Decision 2023 here on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, the Nextdoor Radio app. We'll see you later.